Hey, it's Andrew Huang. This is 4 producers, 1 sample. 4 artists are each going to create a track based on the exact same snippet of audio. My guests this episode are Au5, Drum and Lace, and ill.Gates. The sample in this episode came from one of my followers on Twitter, Chris, who is also a producer who goes by KD3. He's going to be in the video as well, reacting to the tracks that we make, and he tweeted me this clip that he took on his phone. Yeah, so we're gonna make music with that. Let's go.
All right, what's up, everybody? It's ill.Gates reporting for duty. I was really trying to get a lot of modular sounds in there, so I basically did a modular sound design session. So after I got my sample cleaned up by iZotope, put it into my Make Noise Morphogene module for some granular synthesis. Once I got a nice tone out of it, I wanted to make it kind of acidy and filter it with the Make Noise QPOS filter. So I loaded the door in. There's very little processing. There's a little bit of reverb and some fat rack. Made a bunch of cuts in the door and then sequenced the cuts to get this. It's mostly all about the sample chops. Like I sequenced the sample chops first and then sequenced everything around the sample chops. The drums are all pretty standard. This is just like a drum kit that I made. Loaded those modular sounds into a drum rack. These were cut up to make the riffs. I doubled them up with a recording of my Moog Little Fatty, and I made subs. This one is really directly from the door. So I wanted to add a sub. Then I wanted to EQ it a bit. Get rid of some of the harshness with this Brainworks Refinement plugin. And then get some of the highs back with this OTT. Give it some stereo width with wider. And then give it some movement with these parallel peak filtering rack that I made. So then in here, these are all like little glitches and other edits that come in over top of the rest of the track. I also wanted to make sure that there was no doubt that this track was about doors, so I decided to reach out to one of my favorite vocalists, Mayor Apeshit. And really the whole thing is all about doors. It's all about doors. So there we go, door hinge themed music for Andrew. Love you, buddy.
Nice.
Yeah. Is everybody in?
Okay.
Wow.
Fun how you use the door as that lead part.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh man.
There you go.
These like weird bubbly sounds are so good.
Oh, that's tight.
All right.
Damn, Dylan, chill.
Just killer sound design. Oh my god.
This is to a festival near you any moment.
What a fun synth sound. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Had to throw that in at the very end, huh?
Love it. Love how there was so much movement in all the sounds. That was awesome.
Props for the tuning on this one, because the tuning for that sample was not easy. Hi, my name is Drum and Lace. I'm a producer, composer, and performer, and I'm really, really excited to be part of this 4 Producers, 1 Sample challenge. So the sample was really, really great. I'm really glad that Andrew sent something that was so interesting and unique. Essentially, the ways that I used the sample alone was with a sampler to create some hi-hat sounds, and then also as a snare. I also additionally used it with another sampler to create kind of like this hissy effect, and to create more snare effects. So the main challenge that I had with the sample as a whole was trying to pitch it. So trying to find a way to make everything work together so that it sounded cohesive, and so that I could add some pads and bass elements to kind of fill out the space. This sample, which I called Door Baby, was the hardest one to kind of pitch between itself. It really sounds like a baby speaking. All of the elements that were sampled sound like this, which is incredible because it's the sample that just kept on giving. I kept trying to find ways to use it, and it just kept delivering. This was also really cool. I used a program called Pulse Stretch to stretch this out. The few things that I used to kind of fill this out were just a few pads, most of which are either divas or zebras. And then for bass, I had a Moog grandmother kind of holding it down, as well as another zebra over here. Tried to really not use too many things that weren't the actual sample. And I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out.
Okay.
Nice.
What a weird mood.
Spooky.
Yeah, that's cool.
Whoa. Those hi-hats feel like they're like behind my head.
Damn, this ambience is unreal.
Yeah.
I love the like fashion vibes in her music.
Like how she used it as a drum.
It's kind of creepy.
Wow, the door hinge does not sound out of place in this one at all. Sounds like you spent hours making that door hinge sound on a synthesizer. It's great. Fits right in.
Wow. That really paints an atmosphere.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is cool.
I really like that thing that's been going throughout.
I could totally see that one making it way into the rotation around my house. Good work, Drum and Lace.
Nice. That was awesome.
It feels organic, but also cold and metallic, and kind of dark and atonal at the same time. Yeah, it's really nice. Hey, what's up, guys? I am Au5. First of all, I just want to say that this entire song is made exclusively with the door sample. So in the beginning of the song, you pretty much just hear the door sample. I warped it and I just kind of time corrected it, and then I put Resonator's Ableton effect on it and tuned it to a C# minor 9th chord. EQ'd it a little bit, threw some erosion on it, which I automate on and off, and then just a glue compressor. For these bell sounds right here, I took the stretched sample and I constrained the loop marker on this sampler to a very, very small loop. Put the filter on it, added overdrive, some EQ, more overdrive, reverb, another EQ. Yeah, basically turned into a bell sound. The next thing that you hear is these drums here. This kick drum is made from the stretch sample that was pitched down. I just took a very short clip of that sample. So I threw a pitch envelope on it and kind of shaped the pitch envelope to create more of an attack for the kick. I EQ'd it, threw an overdrive on it to accentuate the low end harmonics, another EQ, and then glue compressor for more punch and limiting. So the snare is 2 layers. So it's that sound combined with this, and you get that. And also, all these hi-hats are just the original sample, really high-passed. The toms are exactly the same thing as the kick drum, except I'm using a frequency shifter and automating the fine frequency. The next thing you hear is this main bass. So this is 2 layers, a sub layer. Then I have this top layer. So the top layer, without all of these effects on it, is the pitch down sample that I stretched out. Then I tuned it to the root key of the sample so that I can apply FM to it. And then I threw serum effects on it. And then an auto filter with a notch, give it some more movement. The sub is the same principle as the bells. I'm just looping a single cycle and then pitching it down really low. Then combined. For this last part, I have these strings-esque sounds where I tuned the texture mode to a very, very small grain size. I just threw that into a sampler and looped it. And then reverb, frequency shifter to repitch the beginning of the sample. Auto pan, set to the ramp down mode, and then a rate of quarter notes. And I have another layer, which is for the harmony. Thank you so much again, Andrew, for hitting me up about this opportunity. This was honestly really cool, and this is like really huge for me. I love the work that you do, and I'm just super stoked to be part of it. So, thank you.
All right. Ooh.
Nice spectral harmonic resonator kind of action.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling like I'm like on the beach.
That's cool.
Love that chord change.
Oh yes.
I can see people rocking out to this. The micro editing's nice.
Yeah.
All this sound design is so magical.
Nice.
Great groove.
Crazy.
And those little bells, man.
I don't even know what's the door anymore.
Good job, Austin.
There's this part that sounds like someone's voice going like, ah, but I think that's the door.
Woo!
Well, that was a saucy little number.
Damn, Au5, that was great.
Nice job.
All right, so I use the sample in a lot of different ways, but I started with one of the quietest parts of it. Do you hear even before it starts really squeaking, there's this little like tit-tit-tit-tit-tit. That already had pitch to it and a nice little rhythm that it was playing, so I just chopped down to those tiny little sounds, EQ'd out all of the other noise, and pitch shifted it down to get this. Ran that through a bit of distortion. Did that again an octave down with a bit of reverb on it too. And that ended up becoming the foundation of my whole track. So I put a chord progression with it, I sang on top of it, I added a beat to it, and the beat was actually mostly made out of the door too. So like here's the kick drum. Then I compressed it, took a bunch of the treble off it, added some bass, and we have this kick drum. And then the part of the door slam that came right after that was what I used as a snare drum. So I just chop that piece out, and in some parts of the song I use that alone, in other parts I add another real snare to it. Then there's this little hi-hat that I made, and it's just the clip sped up by 400%, high-pass filtered, and we grab this little piece at the end. I used the main door squeak as this sort of melody fill thing, filtered it a little bit to add some movement to it. And then I built this drop using the door, and I mainly used the rhythm that was already there in it. Put some overdrive on it. 2 OTTs. Doubled it with 2 octaves below. And then chopped it to get rid of all the noise in between those squeaks. Made some growls and serum. Same chords as the verse. These are some native instruments and Arturia synths. Oh, I also made this riser that I really like. So I took the front part of the sample and reversed it and time stretched it. And then I did this pitch automation on it. And then I put 3 effects on it that kind of get more extreme over time. So it gets more saturated as it goes. There's an auto pan on it that kind of chops it up between the stereo channels as it goes. And then a chorus effect that grows in strength. Now, after I came up with that though, I started reversing other parts of the sample, and I came up with this. I mean, I didn't even come up with it. I just reversed another part of the sample and it sounded awesome. It's like a crazy wonky elephant groove. So I just looped that and put my drums that I made out of the door underneath it. I also made one more new sound, which was kind of like this horn. And so that's this part of the sample that I've pitch shifted way down, layered it up with an octave, and then added some distortion and reverb. So I ended up with this really fun beat that I did a verse over, and then I started putting all these weird edits and effects on my verse. So yeah, the whole second half of the song is just the sample and my voice. Check it out.
Oh, it's coming with the backwards style.
Okay.
Oh yeah, all right.
Some dub vibrations.
Okay. That's new.
This is also a massive summer jam. Wow.
I've been living that appreciate life. I've been living that TV life. I've been living that.
Nice vocal treatment.
All right.
I've been
This
living
is pretty hot.
life. I've been living that TV life. I've been living that.
We gotta build up.
Okay.
That was my idea when I was recording this.
Whatever's happening, I'm into it.
Yo, this part, man. It's scary.
Turn the gain up, not the exits. Watch your step, kid.
Let's protect it.
I've been sold on these micro edits.
Nice.
Flex, but that's my aesthetic. Off the hinges, talking reckless. Off the
It is.
bridges, got my necklace. Fly like I got wings to spin endless.
Wow.
Open metropolis on checklist. 65 floors high, rainbow room in the sky. Try to adjust to this climb. I get hyped to redefine my era. I've been living that late night jet set. Always feeling like a steady jet set. I never stopped spitting fire, but I haven't had a second here to catch my breath yet.
It's cool. It's got like a grime vibe. I like it.
Sorry guys, I haven't been commenting on this ever since it's proven too hard.
Damn, Andrew. That was a frickin' bop.
You are the god.
That was pretty cool. Nice work, Andrew.
Hello, that new like mix of genres? What the fuck?
Okay, thanks for watching and subscribing. Links for all the artists and their tracks are in the description. I actually included mine on a new album that I just released today. It's called Alabaster, so check that out. My 3 guests also did their own longer, more in-depth track breakdown videos, so if you're interested, those are linked in the description as well. I'll see you soon with a new video.